I really appreciate Riverside.fm because they continuously update their product that we use.
That's a great
thing. We do have
thing.
a code if you ever want to sign up for a discount to use Riverside. But they continuously update their product with all kinds of great innovations. But we don't know a lot of times when they do it.
Yeah.
So we'll start the show and we're like, wait, is it going? Where's the counter? What's happening?
There's no countdown anymore for us.
It's crazy. Hey, guys and lady, I'm sure there's one of you at least out there still listening. Welcome back to Outside the Cinema, your weekly source for cult movie discussions. We're your hosts, Bill and Chris. Glad you could be with us today to talk about weird anime. Because that's what we're doing today. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Is so we've been doing these Patreon shows now. We're like a little over a month into them. We still have a couple more to go. If you are a Patreon member and you are donating $5 or above, I had somebody ask about that. Oh, can I send movies if I donate $5? Absolutely, you can. You can send them to us through Patreon, or you can send them to us via email. To outsidethecinema@gmail.com, or you can DM me or whatever's easiest for you to get in touch with me, and you are above that $5 level. That is 100% your opportunity to program the show. So, as I said, we are doing these Patreon shows, and I always really find it interesting kind of how people choose to use the opportunity to hear us talk about stuff and like what they choose. And we really do get a really like varied like types of things to review on the show, you know, whether it was the Dev Patel stuff a couple weeks ago, or like when we did The Arrival with Charlie Sheen, and like just like it's always, and I'm always curious to see why, you know, why people choose what they choose. And this week's from our two animes from James, and he has a really I think interesting conversation starter for us to do these films, because we don't really do very much anime. We've kind of done some of the big hits. Have we ever actually even done Akira?
We watched was it the 2K
maybe
version years and years and years ago, and I don't remember if we did it or not, if we recorded it or not.
Yeah, because we've definitely done some anime. Like I know we did Ninja Scroll because that's a personal favorite of ours. I think we did like Demon City Shinjuku, maybe Vampire Hunter D. Like we've done a lot of
the remake.
Yeah, we've kind of done like a lot of the bigger, heavier hitters over the years. I think, you know, like I think pretty sure we did Grave of the Fireflies at one point. That's all I remember offhand. But we don't dive deep into anime, mostly because I don't really have, number one, a real big desire for especially modern day anime, like modern day stuff. Like I've seen Attack on Titan, which isn't even modern day anymore. That's like over 10 years old now, right?
Oh, geez, yeah.
But like My Hero Academia, like that's not stuff. Bleach, that's not stuff that I'm. For someone who's not interested, I seem to apparently know a lot of them. But
well, knowing the names is
one thing. Mostly because I see them advertised on Toonami. So
yeah.
It's the only reason I know they exist. But back in the day when Chris and I worked together at Blockbuster, and like that was, you know, late 90s, early 2000s, which is where kind of a lot of anime kind of came to American viewers more easily, because Blockbuster, despite kind of being very, you know, family friendly, had some pretty hard animes in there.
It's almost like they didn't know what they were buying.
I think that's really what it was, to be honest. Yeah. And they used to have the stickers, the little sticker on them that was basically restricted viewing, have to be 18 or older to rent or whatever. And I would say the majority of those stickers, if not every single one of them, that wasn't like a Playboy video or something, was on an anime. Yeah. So that was kind of where I got my anime. What about you? I know you had more of an understanding before me, because you actually turned me on to a number of things. Where did you kind of get your feet wet in the anime world?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Your feet, among other things.
Oh, girl. The year was 1979. My intro to anime was Force 5 on Channel 56.
Okay.
UFO Grendizer, Guy King, Star Avengers, which is actually Getter Robo G, Space Cateers, which was junk, and there was another one that I really liked that I can't remember.
Star Blazers?
Star Avengers. Star Blazers was another one,
good.
too.
The dog's here.
Nice. Looks like a little dude in pajamas from this angle.
Right? Right? If you guys don't watch the video version of this, whenever Bart comes in the room, and I've got a new love seat here, which we had to get rid of the old one. But he comes in here and he stands on it and just barks out the window with whatever is there, even if there's nothing.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's why I have my door closed.
I used to do that, but not to digress, but Mel had her surgery last week where she donated her kidney, so I definitely didn't want to shut the door. Normally, there's nobody else in the house, so I probably could shut the door, but I didn't want to shut the door if she's laid up on the couch in case she needed something. But.
Right? Is he a jumper? Does he get up on the stuff?
He is a jumper. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. As you could just see by him getting on
well,
top
I
of
mean, yeah.
Yeah, no, he's a jumper. So like when she came home from the hospital last week, we had to like tackle him to the ground when she came in and stuff. So
Yep.
He's happy to see everybody. He's a good boy, right, Bart?
He is. Yeah,
he's a good boy, except when he's not, which is also most of the time.
Yeah, and he's still good then.
Anyway, sorry. Continue. You watched a lot of stuff on Channel 56.
Yeah, and then it went into Robotech.
Yep.
And then from Robotech, then it was the kind of for me, it was the watered down stuff from Space. What is it? Space Battleship Yamato, which is the real name.
Which is Star Blazers.
Yep. And then the mishmash that ended up being Robotech. And then we get like Transformers and all the other stuff that's pseudo anime.
Yeah, I guess
it is sort of, but it's not, but it's made to sell toys.
Yeah, I guess I don't think about that stuff as anime because I definitely did see Star Blazers when I was younger and Robotech. And maybe because I didn't realize where it was from and what it was at that age.
Yeah, no, this is only looking back. But then again, one of my first shows that I ever watched was Ultraman. So Japanese culture or words or Japanese looking people for that matter it was like, oh, okay, there's the guy.
Right.
So yeah, until like Gundam came around and they started using beam sabers. The first anime I bought, I think, was Char's Counterattack, but it was not dubbed or subtitled. So that was a stupid mistake. And that was years and years and years. It was before the internet, I know, because like I got excited there was a Star Wars holiday special now anytime I get the itch, I can watch the first 15 minutes and be like, nope, I'm good.
It's still terrible. It's still bad.
Yeah. Even the good part is still bad.
It's just not as bad.
Yeah. So I've been watching for a super long time. And then it was Akira. That was the for people that were alive when it was brought over here, that was the big step over the line for everybody, because then like you said, you got Toonami showing stuff, and like Pokemon is technically anime.
Yeah, so Dragon Ball Z, like
Yep. And it just got bigger and bigger. And for a long time, people never realized that that animation is basically a label like live action, because genres are the same. You can use any genre you want in anime. And we get some of that here with today's titles. But yeah, that's the good and bad thing about all of it, isn't it? Is that it's so varied that you can find something you like, but if you rented stuff based on the cover box, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Because, God damn it, I rented the wrong stuff. How many times?
Oh, all the time.
All the time.
But we also then like just tried to rent kind of almost everything. Like, when I realized that, like, there was an adult side to Japanese animation, like I, of course, was all in, just like every other red-blooded 16 to 18 or I should say like 14 to like 18-year-old, because now it's all very commonplace. But, back then, like the ultra violence and the sexuality of those films was not something we were really used to seeing, or for me, even knew existed.
Yeah, but the sad thing is, we knew in live action movies that was all there.
Right.
And I find it really funny that parents would get upset that it was animated, which is less realistic,
right,
and less impactful.
And but it's the foreign, sticker that says restricted viewing on the front of it should have given it away.
Yeah, no pity for people that can't read or choose not to read. I should say. I have pity for people that can't read.
Blame somebody else for it. Either way, so we have two. So let me read James's message to us here. Hey guys, what's going on? Long time, no time, back in time listener. I'm assuming that means that he listened to us in the day, left, and then came back.
Makes sense to me.
Supporter of the show. Don't matter. I don't care if you listened to one episode. Yeah. If you're supporting us, thank you. We appreciate it.
I
had a really good idea to give you guys a couple of films to discuss that may or may not go well. Hear me out.
Okay.
So many animes were made back in the late 90s and early 2000s that could never be made today. I would love it if you and Chris could take on a couple of these, take into account when they were made, and if they could be produced today. Here are some suggestions. And he gave us like 4 or 5. I did a little bit of research to try to kind of find the most notorious ones.
Yeah.
And kind of go there. So the two that we chose out of the ones he suggested were Midori from 1988 and Kite. I think, is Kite the same year? Is Kite 1988 or maybe 1999? I'll get those specifics.
No, I thought that was late 90s. Let me see.
Well, that would be 1998.
It is 1998.
Okay. Yes. Oh, so wait, maybe Midori was earlier. I don't have those numbers in front of me. I'm sorry.
Oh, look, let me see. Shogo Tsubaki, 83. Oh, the magazine was released in 83. This is 2016.
I'll look in a second. I've got it all on the iPad. I just don't have the iPad in front of me right now.
Oh wait, shit. That's a live action one? That's a live action version of Midori, because that's the devil looking guy. Let me get off that fucking page.
Okay. Well, let me finish reading this.
92.
Okay. Where the hell was I? Oh yeah. Now I understand that Chris tends to have a hard time with the harder sexual rape stuff recently, so I completely understand that if you guys choose not to do this. Do you want to say something about that now before we get too deep?
Yeah, having watched it, because I did watch both of them. Midori's animation makes it so it's pretty much like still images. So it's like, whatever. Yeah, this it's animated, so it's different.
Okay.
I did actually skip through. I did skip ahead on a couple parts of Kite.
More so just because of how uncomfortable it was.
Yeah, because like nobody's dick is that big.
We'll get to that.
No one. Except for maybe there's a guy on The Boys. Maybe him.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
We'll get to it.
I know.
He just said, if you guys don't want to do them, I can totally come up with something else to completely understand. Nope. All good, dude. Thank you for all that you guys do. Continue your hard work and receive what praise you can. Thank you, James. So yes. So we chose these two. Midori is super infamous, so much so that I don't believe it's been released again since whatever that first like limited DVD that came out of it was. Mostly because it's got some pretty bizarre themes in it. And Kite's another one that has been released, a number of times, and there was a animated sequel, and then there's a live action movie. Which did you get a chance to watch the live action film?
I got so
we'll get to it. That's all I need to say. That's all I need to say. We'll get to it.
It's Sam Jackson in the live action one, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that I was going to, and then when you wrote and said, "Hey, can we do the next day?" I'm like, "Oh, good, I don't have to watch Midori today."
Well, I did watch it, and we can kind of talk about it a little bit too.
No, I did. Okay, the live action one. Yeah. Good.
So the Kite franchise is a little bit deeper than Midori. I know there's a couple of different Midori things, but these are two films that are very much notorious for the adult content and the sexual situations and the violence that is really, I don't want to say plagued is not the word, but been kind of like the identifier for this era of Japanese animation.
Yeah.
And it's really kind of interesting to watch it in 2025 with eyes that don't necessarily feel that this stuff is needed anymore.
Yeah.
So
that's, yeah.
All right. So we're going to do the reviews on both of these. I am not going to play trailers for either of them because I couldn't find trailers that were in English that were suitable in terms of like helping in any way, shape, or form.
That's fair.
And also there just wasn't a whole lot of really good quality ones. So let's start with Midori, though, which was released in 1992. We watched the unrated version. The original name is Shouju Sabaki Shika Geto Geika. Okay.
Sounds good to me.
So there was a manga of this originally by Tsuhiro Mahura, or Maruo, sorry. And the story is simple in the fact that you have an orphan girl whose family is killed, not around, par for the course for almost every Japanese animation that is featured a young girl to start. She is taken in / kidnapped by a group of circus freaks, I guess is the way to put it. Very similar to Todd Browning's Freaks in terms of like the different people. And by similar, I mean directly inspired by, which there's nothing wrong with that. And then basically...
Except the Freaks and Browning's one were sympathetic characters.
Yeah, these ones are not.
No.
These are not. And then she meets an eccentric magician whom she falls in love with. And then all kinds of other stuff happens. Now, you had briefly mentioned... let me mention this was directed by Hiroshi Harada, who also worked on... He's done a lot of storyboard work and art department for things. I don't think he did a lot of directing. Let me just scroll to his direction stuff. Animation department. Horizon Blue, Folk Tales of Japan, Humanoid Monster Bem, Kirby.
Herbie?
No, Kirby.
Wait, the little pink guy?
Yep. Kirby, right back at you, 2001. Season 1, episode 7.
That's not weird.
Nope, not at all. Not at all.
It's like
he's worked on some video game stuff.
All of a sudden.
He's done some Final Fantasy stuff.
Oh, okay.
Video game stuff.
Next, you'll tell me David Lynch directed an episode of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
I mean, probably not. Because I would have watched it by now if that were true.
Yeah, we all would have heard it. I'm going to check. No.
Don't check. Stop. Stop it.
I'm kidding.
Stop it. Now, the animation style in this is interesting. You had kind of brought it up a little bit. Why don't you dive a little bit deeper into that?
Yeah, this is garbage. The animation style is garbage. It's sketchy. The characters are ugly. And this is my least favorite art style for animation. Because to me, it looks rushed and it feels incomplete because the colors all feel washed out. The lines are sketchy. And the anime that I started with, nice crisp lines, mostly. And it's just, I don't like this. I don't like manga that's like too chaotic. And the animation style feels as dirty as the movie is. So it matches. So it's good. The art style is perfect for the movie, but I don't like it. So that was immediately one strike against it.
Right. See, I can look at the art and as stills and paintings, I think it's actually quite striking and quite good. But as an animation style, it is inconsistent and lazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it suffers from the same problems that the end of the series of Evangelion suffered from. And I don't know if they suffered from actual budget problems and people telling them not to do stuff or do this, do that. But there's a lot of still footage in this. For a 51-minute animated OVA, there's a lot of still footage.
I'd say half of
it. Or where it's like 12 frames of no movement and then a fucking cherry blossom petal flies by and then there's still no movement. That's the other thing. So those two things together, the art style and the lack of animation is very off-putting for me.
Yeah, because any of the speaking in this, there's no like animated like lip sync for anything. Like there's it's all just static.
It's all open close. Big mouth for, emotions. Honestly, the series Tenchi Muyo is much better animated. They are not anything like each other, but that was a 26, 52, whatever episode series, and it looked fantastic. I recommend Tenchi. That was one of the second wave anime movie TV series that I watched that carried through from Blockbuster. And actually, my wife found Tenchi. I'd rather watch Tenchi than this. Anyway, what?
So, the girl's family is killed, or like I don't even remember exactly what happened, but like she's brought into this circus freak troupe, and they immediately go about abusing her in every possible way. Say sexually abuse her, they physically abuse her, they're violent, they talk down to her, they mentally abuse her.
And it's not just hazing on like the first day, week, or month. It's like forever.
Yeah. She basically becomes, like the butt of their everything.
Yeah.
And it's
because why? Because she's nice? Because she wants to be nice to people, or she's prettier than everybody else there. And it's not like she even would try. She's just overall looking at her because, you got to visually tell people stuff. She's just a better person.
Yeah. She's a normal human.
Initially.
These guys are circus freaks, and they're, and I did that air quote.
Yeah.
And nobody could see it but you. So,
right.
But they're not, like we talked about, they're inspired by Todd Browning's Freaks, but they're not sympathetic characters like that. They're really just truly awful people. Like,
no, yeah. If the cast of Freaks made Last House on the Left, you sort of get the same attitude, the same meanness between the two. So that's and she's the innocent girl stuck there.
Yeah, and she's portrayed, and we know that she's supposed to be very young. We don't know exactly how young, but she is definitely well south of 18.
Yeah. When the movie started, I read she's supposed to be 10 years old, and then 14.
For the majority.
So,
okay.
I don't know if it's the majority, but I know in the first scene where the family's killed, she's 10, and then all of a sudden, she's getting jumped into the gang.
Yep.
Not the way she wants.
Nope. I mean, nobody.
We'll call that the Starlight recruiting because of the boys, and it's the same fucking thing.
So we see this horrible series of abuse happen to her. And it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, for sure, but like it is extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I think the stuff that makes it so uncomfortable is how hard they go with what's being done, and then anything they can do to basically, like, and I'm going to use the term, and they're going to stomp out any joy she has in her life.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally and figuratively, because there's the scene where she befriends these puppies, and they don't last very long.
No. And then we're supposed to care about that character at the end.
Were we though, really?
Yeah. I think the movie really wanted us to see, she's changed. No,
I didn't get that.
No, because she's crying and it's all, don't leave, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you're lucky she didn't fucking kill you guys. Like, what are you even talking about? We see two puppies get killed on screen. So beware of that. They're animated though.
Yep. It's the only reason I could watch. It's the only reason I could watch it.
Yeah, and like that character has a sadistic smile the whole time. Like the whole time. That's the default character design. Is this really like fourth grade looking evil smile on this thing person? And I don't understand. Like, how could she stay there? Like, how could you even look at that person again?
I mean, she's trapped. That's the thing, is she's trapped. She has nowhere to go. She can't go. She's got nowhere to run to. Like, that's, she's trapped there.
Yeah. Well, she's been gaslit into thinking she has to stay.
Right.
She could just run. She's young enough that she could get help immediately.
She could, for sure. But again, she doesn't feel they brought her down so bad that she doesn't feel that she deserves anything else.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, they've done a job on that poor girl.
They have. So we learn that this circus sideshow is not necessarily doing great. So they're going to bring in a new performer. And this new performer is a little person magician who can manipulate his body to put himself into a bottle.
Yeah.
And that's like,
so now it's a world with real magic.
Yep. Because he's also able to kind of manipulate people's minds and like all these other things.
Yeah, he doesn't accidentally look like the devil.
No. But when we first meet him, he falls for Midori, and we are led to believe that like he is kind of there to save her or rescue her. Because once the two of them get together, and again, she's supposed to be a 14-year-old girl, and he's supposed to be a dude in his like 50s, I'm assuming. He looks,
I would say no younger than 40.
Yeah. They refer to him as the dwarf magician. So, but he definitely looks drastically older.
Oh, yeah.
And it's kind of an interesting kind of like dichotomy that they use where he is a little person. So like him and her are like the same size. So
yeah,
it's giving you this weird feeling of like she's the same size as him, but she's half his age at least.
Yep.
So the two of them get together, in whatever weird, sick way it is in the film, and it starts off good. We go from horror movie anime to romance anime for about 10-15 minutes, and like. The two of them presented together as a couple, like at first is very like, okay, yeah, these two are good. Like they're good for each other. She cares for him. He cares for her. Once again, he's 50, she's 14. But all right, I'll look the other way just for the sheer fact of what's going on and the fact that
it's not an actual 14-year-old
right,
girl.
Exactly. And but then he becomes power hungry because he's basically the thing in the sideshow that everyone is coming to see. No one cares.
Yeah, he's the moneymaker now.
Yeah, no one cares about the opening acts anymore. They just want to see the dwarf slide himself into the bottle. And the people that are paying are not polite about it to the performers.
No, which is surprising because like you don't see Japanese culture presented in a negative way like that. Like the average like background character.
Right.
Usually they follow society norms and everybody's generally polite in this type of situation, not in anime. I mean, in a public setting where you pay money to go see a person, usually you act better, but no, but this was like 1930, wasn't it supposed to be?
Supposed to be somewhere in that like Great Depression type era.
Yeah.
Obviously Great Depression was a US thing.
Are they in Japan or they are, right?
I think they are, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There was just so much for me to not watch.
And the problem too, since the animation style is so limited in the actual animation, you're not getting details.
That's true.
You're not getting details. But anyway, so as their relationship continues and he becomes more power hungry, he becomes more controlling of her also. And then also he then starts to treat all of the other performers like shit too. So it's kind of this reverse thing where like they were all treating her like crap, and now he's treating them all like crap, but then he treats her like crap too. And the whole like feeling changes, but she's still committed to him for whatever reason. And there's a scene where he hits her, and like, they just basically realize that like they decide they're gonna leave the sideshow, and they all freak out because that means the sideshow is gonna have to stop because they don't have any money anymore. But then like he manipulates the guy that runs the sideshow into paying everybody more. But
then he steals all the money, right?
Something like that. They know he stole like the other part of it, but the performers got paid. So there's like a lot of like weird decisions made in the storytelling here, whereas like he's mean to them, but then he gets them more money, but then that actually bankrupts the circus. So like, and then he's off with Midori doing his own thing. And I kept expecting there to be a point where like she was going to make a realization and he was going to get his comeuppance. And he does get his comeuppance, don't get me wrong. But like, she never has the moment of realization that she's better than all this.
That's true.
She's saying waiting or whatever. Like,
which actually gives it a really sad,
very sad
ending, because she's waiting for her abuser to come back and she's freaking out about that. And that's not cool. Come on, Midori, get your act together.
I know, right?
This was depressing.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to say though,
the review just hit a wall.
I mean, we say a film again. It's a short 55 minutes or so. I expected I had never seen it before, so with the reputation that this has had, I'm going to be honest, I expected it to be a lot more intense than it was.
Yeah, there weren't as many scenes as I was thinking there would be. I actually watched a lot more of this than I expected. And the rape scenes could have been 100 times worse.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. They were very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But they were not, and maybe because this came out in 92 and so much heavy stuff came afterwards, this maybe set the bar a little bit.
Okay. I can see that.
In terms of the extreme. And again, the story is disgusting. Like, it's disgusting. But it's all just presented in this very strange sort of way that I just expected. I'm not saying that I expected more, like I expected it to be better or anything like that, but I just expected it to be more. Yeah.
Instead, it's just a story about this one girl's unfortunate 5-year period.
Yeah. It's very pedestrian.
It resolves itself. That's the biggest problem, isn't it? The whole story, her whole problem resolves itself one way or another without her doing a goddamn thing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of frustrating. Because she has no ability to affect her life at all. Or so she thinks.
And she does, and she never tries. Like, I kept waiting for that redemption moment. Then I had to remember that it was a Japanese anime when, a lot of them don't get those redemption moments. Like, a lot of these end very downtrodden.
Yeah, we should be used to that.
We should. But, like, you always still want to have, and maybe that's being U.S. film fans, because we always seem all U.S., like, I shouldn't say all, but the majority of U.S. movies, they ham-fist in a happy ending, even if it's made from a movie that was
based on 1984.
Right, yeah. Like, I think Kite's a really good example of that when we get to it. So,
yeah.
But yeah, it's just like, I don't really know what the purpose for this is. Like, what is the director trying to show us other than disgusting shit?
Right. Because Martyrs did a bunch of disgusting shit, but there was, whatever the reason was, which I won't say, there was a reason.
Or even
all that
like
went
shit
on.
like a Serbian film. Like, there's,
yeah,
it's buried, but like there's a whole thing about Serbian culture there.
Yep.
But like, what is this? Is this trying to tell us something about Japanese culture, or like what? Like, And if it's there, it's so far buried. I just don't see it.
Yeah. And we have to remember too, there's a lot of movies we're just not going to understand because of localization, I guess we'll say. Or, for real though, where it's from, who made it. Yeah, I don't know how big a problem pedophilia is in Japan, but I do know it's a country where you could or used to be able to buy things in vending machines on the street, which not that cool.
No.
It's very exploitative. And I mean, where have women been treated well?
Yeah.
In the past, except for fucking Themyscira, which doesn't even exist.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So I forget my point, but
all right. Well, maybe you remember when
it might have been trying to say something about the culture at the time or certain people.
Right. All right, Chris. So first and foremost, do you recommend? What is your grade? And would this be made today?
I'm not going to recommend it because I will not recommend bad art, what I consider bad art. Okay. And this is a bad art style. It's my least favorite. The story is... Ugh. The story's shallow, even though it takes a lot of time to go over its, where it's going. It takes time. But ultimately, it doesn't do anything. It's this poor girl's life is fucked. It's still fucked. Credits. Like, I can't recommend that. I can't tell people I watched it. Like, so, but it was more tasteful with the objectionable stuff than I thought it would be. So I'm going to go with a D instead of an F.
Okay. Could it be made today?
Oh, right. I think so. I saw Terrifier 3. I think so. Not that Terrifier 3 had a lot of sexual assault in it, but that fucking Tatum movie was based on rape, so why not?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I think, it could be. And I think it could actually be more explicit. I'm not talking porn parodies, but I mean, you find someone that looks younger and you can do whatever if they sign up for the job, right? And they just pretend to be like the girl that was in Jugface was like 40 playing a 20-year-old.
Right.
That's fascinating to me. I love that. But yeah, normally now when we watch 70s movies or 60s or 80s, when we watch movies, there's a high school character that like immediately gets topless. The first thing I do is look up and see when they're born so I know how to feel about it.
Right.
Because I don't ever want to be caught with, hey, have you looked at this person's thing here? Have you seen this video? Have you blah, blah, whatever? They were 12. I don't want that to happen.
No, yeah, I hear you.
I don't want a deep throat situation to like spring up and be like, yeah, you supported really terrible people. So that's why the animation is a little more acceptable for me.
Okay.
But it's still a D because it's not good.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think I can recommend it either. I get that this is one of the ones that people will always be like, oh, the most fucked up animes. And it's not readily available. So if you guys want to watch it, you have to find a copy of it. But I think the art style, despite being presented as stills, which I think look really good, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And the story lives in this shock for the sake of shock world, with no real story to tell other than like this young girl is broken and nobody's going to help her, and she's not going to help herself. So it makes you kind of hate humanity.
Yeah, they gaslit her to the point where she doesn't even know she can help herself.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I think it wasn't as intense as I thought it was going to be. Still disgusting and reprehensible, but like I prepared myself, like, and even like when I was sending it to you to be like, oh, do you really want to do this? And you're like, all right, well, give it a whirl. Like, I mean, it didn't even come close to what my expectation was going to be. And I think that hurts it also, because like there's this kind of bar set for like, you're going to watch this and you're going to want to like die after you watch it. And it just didn't do that. And the art style affects that. And it's like, if you're looking to shock, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Yeah. So yeah, no, I'm not gonna recommend it. If you have a morbid curiosity, then I guess check it out. But otherwise, it's just not. There's so many other ones that do what this does that are more entertaining while also still being disgusting.
Yeah, and if you want gross, we could give you those titles too.
And we could just Yurosakadoshi is the first one you go to.
And you know what? I have come to find that is everybody's first. Don't watch this.
Yeah.
Watch this, but don't watch it.
Yeah. So as a grade, you gave it a D?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because of the talent to do the art and voice work.
Yeah, I'm there with you. It just doesn't rise above any of the other stuff. And when you figure, Akira was what, 88?
Yeah, 88, 89.
So you get to figure Akira was made like 4 years before this.
Yeah, but also remember that this is an episode of like Two Broke Girls, and Akira is the Green Mile.
Right.
So it's different.
For sure. All right, James. So there you have that's Midori. Next, we're going to talk about Kite, which is another short run series, 2 episodes from 1998. Directed by Yoshiomi Emetsu, who also wrote the story and the screenplay. He was an animation director that worked on Mezzoforte. He also was a key animator on Akira, key animator on Grave of the Fireflies, which is one of the most depressing films ever made. Let's see here. Animation department and a bunch of different things. Let's scroll down to his directing, see what else he directed. And Kite's one of these ones that's really well known.
Yeah. Yeah, that was everywhere.
Yeah, the edited version, if you will.
Well, yeah.
So, just directing. All right, so he worked on Pretty Boy Detective Club, 7 Mortal Sins. I don't really recognize many of these.
Yeah, I didn't recognize much when I was looking.
Dante's Inferno, I recognize that one. He did the follow-up Kite Liberator in 2007. And he was the director of Robot Carnival, which we reviewed way back.
Oh. Okay.
So
that's all right.
Yep. Story here. It's going to sound familiar. Young orphaned girl, family was killed. Taken in by people that say they're helping her, but are not.
Yeah. But aren't they the ones that killed the parents?
Spoiler alert.
I don't care about that this time.
Because
it's obvious. It's absolutely obvious.
It is obvious.
Right?
So we have Sawa, whose family is murdered when she's very young. Again, probably about 8 to 10 years old, I'm guessing. She is then trained to be a killer. And now here's the interesting thing with this one. And I don't really know what the director is going for here, because she is trained to be a hired killer who kills people who are abusing kids.
Yes.
But herself is abused by the person who took her in.
Both, right?
Both, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a very weird, like, the guy that it's a very Republican thing. The guy that goes out there and preaches about how bad things are and then gets caught doing those exact things.
Yeah.
Matt Gay, for example. Perfect example.
What a piece of shit.
Worst. Well, maybe not the worst.
No,
there.
Not the worst.
Definitely up there.
There is a worse pedophile rapist in a higher position. Vice president, because that couch didn't consent.
No. Anyway.
And everybody else. Fuck this.
Anyway,
yeah, go ahead.
So getting back to Kite. She's a trained killer. She's a hired killer to go out and kill people that have been abusing children or using children and women and all of these different things. Her main guy, what was it? Abori was the guy that, or was it Kane? It doesn't matter. Her main guy. Sorry. Go.
Oh, I was just going to say he had a kind of a normal name that I've heard before, but I can't remember it. So that's all. I wasn't going to say anything.
Yeah. So she's a hired killer. Her handler / caretaker / boyfriend / abuser is also a police officer, so he's able to go in and kind of cover up the murders that she does. But we find early on that like he took her in when she was very young, and she's still supposed to only be, I gather, probably like 13 or 14 years old. He's having a sexual relationship with her, and we see it graphically because we did watch the unedited version. I remember having this back in the day, and I had the edited version of this back in the day.
That must be better.
It's the same thing. I mean, it's just you don't see the full animated penetration that you see in this, and it is gross.
Yeah,
it's gross. Like, and I know it's supposed to be, but like, it doesn't, like, the extended sex scenes just don't need to be there.
No. I remember the one guy's name, Oburi. He was the one with the shitty headband. And the other one, who was a pedophile rapist, is Kanye.
Yes, Kanye. Fitting.
Kanye, who I saw a picture of the other day standing on a street corner with a white shirt with a swastika on it.
Yeah. He's been canceled yet again. Oh, I think my mother-in-law's here.
Okay.
You couldn't tell. The dogs go nuts. Yeah, Kanye's been canceled yet again.
Yeah, so he needs to. I think people like Musk, who stayed illegally and it's doing all this shit to hurt people, I don't think he should be deported. I think what he needs to be is exiled.
Yeah.
And he shouldn't be allowed to use anything that comes from the countries that he's fucked over.
Okay. Yeah, I agree.
That's a good start. I like that. That
good
means
start. Let's get back to this though, because I'm going to lose my train of thought because I have some very specific thoughts on this.
Okay.
So he's a cop. He's her caretaker. He's her abuser. It's just awful all around.
It's reverse Batman is what it is.
It is. It really is. And it's just awful all around. And it's presented in this graphic way, and extended too. That's the part, like, you don't need the scene to, I mean, the thing only runs 50 minutes. You don't need these scenes to go on for like 3-4 minutes. And the like voice actress, I mean, she made her money, man. Like, because it is so uncomfortable to hear the sounds that are being made. And then when you kind of like sit back and think about what's going on here, it's just like, why would you do this? Like,
yeah. And then the other problem I have is, who is this made for?
Yes, I have that in my notes here too.
Okay. Because that was my biggest thing.
Yeah.
My kids and I, we've been watching some stuff that I've been watching for the show because they're getting older and stuff. So I put this on. I'm like, I remember this being in Suncoast, heavily featured in the front. Mm-hmm. And I got to the first one with Obadiah or whatever his fucking name is. And I'm like, oh, and they both yelled at me. How dare you? What are you showing us? because they get all indignant. And I'm like, I didn't know. I knew it would be bad, but I didn't think it'd be like that. I'll watch this later. And then because I couldn't watch it then, it's like, when the fuck am I going to be able to watch this?
Right. I muted the sex scenes just because I started listening to them. I just talked about how the voice actress made her money, but I was like, I just couldn't do it because
I skipped ahead. I have no interest in that.
There's no point. Because it's not presented in any type of pleasurable way because you're already given the information of how gross all this is. And then it's shown to you. And I guess that's a part of it is that like, we're going to fucking show it to you and we're going to make it as uncomfortable as possible. But again, because then there's another scene with the Kanye character later on where like he's doing his thing with a chick and he's got her all like tied up and like or like tape over her mouth to show more. And I get it. That's a character trait that they're showing of these people. And we haven't been given all the information yet, but we know that they're terrible. And you know that he's terrible from that point. And all of these guys are hypocrites on what they're saying they're doing and the reason why they're doing things. But then they're also just as bad, if not worse, on their side of it. But again, I don't need to see it.
Right. And what is his end game with this whole thing? Because they have more than one person doing this stuff. Is it like a firefighter doing the arson stuff he's a police officer and he's committing crimes because he's directing her to do it. So guilty. But what is he going after a certain kind of person? Does he hate himself? I didn't get any of that.
Is it just about money? Like what's
right?
Like what's the
is
end?
He trying to look good at his job? Like how are you going to be any good at your job if every murder ends up unsolved? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's like when I watched a movie off of someone's recommendation that contributes to the show, and I have so many fucking questions about the gorge that weren't answered. But the thing about the gorge is just don't give a shit and have fun with it. That's it.
Right.
But there are a lot of things in there, like in Kite, where it's like none of this makes sense. Like you're hiding underground. You're a police officer. Don't you have a home? Go to your home. Like there was no wife, fiance, daughter, son, no drama for him or anything. It was okay. So for Drama Fest, usually they, at my kids' school, they'll cut down a play to fit within the time constraint. And I've noticed with some of the longer ones that they do, or the ones that are heavily character driven, to me, it feels like they lose a lot when they don't develop the characters. Like, I know what you're doing. I don't know why you did it. What do you get from it? I don't. And then, so it's like, that's how this feels.
Yeah.
It's like, I understand why Sawa would be doing it. Impressionable young kid, fine. But what is their reasons? What is Kanye's reason? Who the fuck even is he?
Right. And when she meets the other assassin, the other young guy that's the assassin, those are the scenes that I liked when, the interactions between the two of them, where she's just so obviously just looking for some type of companionship from someone that's like close to her age that she can relate to.
Yeah, somebody be nice to me, please. That's really all it is.
It's insane. It's insane. And going back to what you said about who is this made for? It's made for gross, horny, middle-aged men.
Yeah.
Now I'm a middle-aged man. I don't think I'm gross. I do tend to get horny sometimes. But
I mean, I don't know what you think of when you get all
no, but it's not there's nothing appealing about this to me.
No, not at all.
It is such a sad thing for me to watch and be like, they felt like they needed to make this. And here's the thing.
Also,
this was very popular. As you said, it's in the front window of Suncoast, but all of those versions that were sold here were edited versions.
Right. Which now
you could
makes
get
a lot
the
more
unedited
sense.
version, but everything was edited. And I remember watching the edited version of this and me thinking that I liked it a lot more than I actually did, probably, because I was one of those guys where, like, any anime I get my hands on, I'd watch it, be like, oh yeah, this is great. Even, like Vampire Princess Moyo, like, yeah, that's terrible. Oh, yeah. Devil Hunter Yoko, not good. Like,
no.
At the time, I'm like, oh, so fucking best because I'm such an artistic person. Like,
yeah, but that's what happens, and that's totally fine in the beginning to like everything you're seeing because you're accumulating. I'm going to talk like a robot. You're accumulating this database of movies that's going to now inform your decisions. And without having that knowledge of what's good and what's bad, you don't know. So everything's good until you see something really good and you're like, oh, that's shit over there.
Yeah.
That's mid-level shit. Okay.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
So you and I both are huge fans of Ninja Scroll. We both love Ninja Scroll. And there's a couple of really gross sexual scenes in Ninja Scroll, but they don't affect me nearly the way that this stuff does. What about you?
Yeah. The one I remember is the digit violation of the princess that Jubei's going to rescue by the rock guy, the rock monster, Oni, whatever.
Yeah. No.
And I'm okay with that because it allows the hero to win, which sounds stupid, but let me explain.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, she's, and I remember a bunch, but not enough. Was she a poison taster?
Yeah. So
tester.
So the character that is getting violated in that scene has been brought up to be a poison taster and a person that basically like has been poisoned so much that she can now no longer be handled or touched. It's
the iocane powder thing. Just if she keeps testing stuff that's poisoned, you're going to work up to it.
Yeah, she becomes poisonous. So
yeah,
the idea, and tell me if I'm wrong, but what you're getting at is it's more stomachable because this guy, the rock monster guy, is so forward with what he's going to do. He doesn't realize or take into account that like she could hurt him. He just does what he wants to because what the fuck? Why not? I can. I'm a big giant rock guy.
It's hugely symbolic.
Yeah.
And he starts to fall apart because the poison is so potent inside of her. His rock skin starts to fall. I love the fact that he bleeds from it too. That was nice. And then we get a Smaug cut type of thing where there's a little space for the katana to slice and stab and shit.
Yep.
And that's okay, but there probably is a better way to have done that. Like,
right.
Like spit in his eye, because his eye's not made of rock. Yeah. But
there's a reason for that scene.
It's 51% fine. You know, because it's animated. Yeah. It does help the story, but there were other ways to do it.
Agreed. Okay, getting back to this film. And there's really not a whole lot more we can say about it because, as we said, we know from the get-go that her parents were killed by the guy that has taken her in and used and abused her. She eventually finds out what's going on and then, wants to get her comeuppance.
Yeah.
Singular revenge.
Essentially, this whole thing is somebody that didn't speak English watched Point of No Return, not the original, but the Bridget Fonda one.
Yeah.
And then he tried to tell somebody else what it was about, but doesn't have any of the dialogue or plot points. So he made it up based on what he saw.
And also was weird kinks.
And and you get this top surface level kind of, oh, hey, this guy likes to hit on girls. Go kill him. This guy likes to do that. Well, why?
Yeah. And I think whenever you're telling an assassin story, you have to make one of the targets more interesting and give more. And everyone that's in this, that's a target is just another body. They try to do it a little bit with like, they have the actor and his twin brother. But they don't really get into it and you don't even really know what's going on with them. So it's like, they're being killed. Why? Like,
yeah. Well, then we compare this to like, the scene in Ghost in the Shell where, it's all the guards with that one guy and an assassin's coming to get him, but there's so much going on and so much talk, you get filled in while it's happening. And that's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
Tell me why this 14-year-old girl with eyes that don't blink or move and a face that's stoic the entire time, why is she doing this? Please. Just anybody. Because she was told to. I mean, yeah, if you're trying to tell a story about Nazis, that might be a good reason, but
Okay.
So I know I complained about the art style in the last one, and I'm not going to complain about the art style in this one, except for her face. It didn't move. It didn't emote. There was nothing.
Yeah.
There's a point in anime where it seems like a certain group of people were like, "Oh, everybody loves big eyes. Let's make them as big as fucking possible." And red. Why not make them red? Well, because that's a bad guy trait. No, not for this movie. All right, whatever. Yeah. I just be happy to forget about this.
That's fair.
And she stands there and does nothing for so long. They saved on animation again in this one.
Yeah. I do want to make mention. So one of the questions that James posed to us when he suggested these for us was, could it be made today? There was a live action version of this made in 2014, directed by Ralph Simon, who also worked on he directed the Faith No More video, Falling to Pieces.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, not so much.
No, the video.
Oh, okay. He got he did the Perry Mason Ozzy video. He's a music video director. He did
okay.
Let's see. Do any other Iron Maiden, From Here to Eternity? Vanessa Williams. Oh, he directed No More Tears by Ozzy.
Huh.
L.A. Guns. He he directed Epic also.
Oh shit.
Yep, and he directed the Enough's Enough video, Fly High Michelle.
Oh, I love that song.
L.A. Guns, Expose. This guy did a lot of music videos.
If I had shame, that would be what is it called? Guilty pleasure would be Enough's Enough.
I have that record on vinyl. Original too. Anyway, so
Nice.
they in 2014 they made a live action version of Kite. I'm not going to get too deep into this. I'll just say Sawa is played by India Isley, and Samuel L. Jackson is in it too. And so whenever they take one of these kind of short run animes and make a feature out of it, you know they have to stretch the story a little bit. But this was just like, I don't know how, but it was worse than the anime was.
So they expanded on the wrong stuff.
Yeah, and they took away the few things that I thought were kind of interesting about the animated version of it. India Isley is pretty good in the role of Sawa. She's actually, I didn't realize she's Olivia Hussey's daughter, which I did not realize. Until, and then I read it and I was like, oh yeah, I can definitely see it. But like such a main part of the animated one is the abusive cycle coming from, what's Abori? Was it Abori? No. Yeah.
I don't remember their names.
Whichever one was the guy that like took her in. Like the abusive cycle and what he does to her is such a big part of the story. And that is and again, we talked about could you make it today? They took that whole angle just right out of it. The whole angle is just taken out of it. And then they add a couple of other characters in, and then they kind of combined like the young assassin character with another character. And then they add this whole like underground people being held, like sex trade type thing is brought into it. And like
that, at least I could see, but if you don't do anything with it, what's the point?
Yeah. The problem is it is so pedestrian and just boring. And it was made in South Africa on a cheap dime. And half the cast has an accent, half the cast doesn't have an accent. Samuel L. Jackson is obviously just cashing a check.
It feels like a The Spirit role for him in this one. Remember The Spirit?
He was better in that.
Oh, that's
and it's
not
just
good.
it's funny because being made off of such a notorious anime and to take out all of the notorious elements says to me that, yeah. And again, I think we kind of mentioned this when we talked about the first one. Yeah, you could remake any of this stuff.
Yeah.
But the idea is, how much are you going to change? Yeah. And this is an example of they changed all of the stuff that made the original Notorious and really just kind of used the name and some minor story elements.
Yeah, I hate that.
So
it's like, just do something, name it different. If you're writing something and it's so different from the original, throw that out, put it aside.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to have something. Like, for some reason, I don't know if it's ironic. It probably is, but my kids keep asking me, "Are you excited for the Minecraft movie?" I'm like,
No,
I'm more excited for my next kidney stone. Like, I'm not going to see that. I'm not going to go to the theater. They probably will. They are of the age where Jack Black is funny to them because they don't know him from when he was younger. They know him now, and that's fine. Right? But it's not for me. And I'm really getting used to this wasn't made for me.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Oh, the movie Revenge from 2017.
Yes.
I can't remember. She was raped and took revenge on everybody.
Correct.
Because I'm scrolling through like rape revenge movies to check the years, and found Base Moi. Fucking. And then remember, they remade I Spit on Your Grave, whether it was whether it compares or not.
I mean, I watched the I Spit in Your Grave remake, and fairly similar, just toned down. They didn't take out those elements.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's something.
Yep. All right, well, let's grade this one. All right. Do you recommend? What is your grade, and would it be made today?
I'm not going to recommend this either. The art style is pretty slick, and I do like that. It is the exact opposite of the other one, but Sawa shows no emotion at all. She doesn't express the fact that she feels nothing that I remember. So it's a good outline for a story, for a movie. Or a OVA. It's not done. There's no character in this.
Yeah.
Like, you could have just made this with robots and it would have been fine. Because everybody, you would have had to have two gross guys fucking the robots, but I don't know. I mean, they spent so much time designing the gun and the bullet that they use, and then you only see it like 4 times.
And half the time they don't actually explode, so it's like,
yeah,
like that's the whole thing is they shoot these bullets that once they're shot they go in and then explode, but like half the time they shoot the guns and they don't explode. So it's like, get consistent with your fucking.
Yep, and it's all basically just, oh look, here's the gross fucking Andrew Tate underside of the human trade, because you know if you're gonna have 2 people as your sex slaves, you're gonna have more,
right?
And it's gonna keep going. None of the ending was satisfying.
Nope.
At all. I mean, I was happy to see one thing happen, but overall it was just okay, I'm ready to talk about it.
Yep.
And I don't think this would be remade today, but if it was, it would be exactly the same way as you did, in name only.
Yeah.
As the one you watched is what I meant to say. Honestly, I don't think there's enough to it to even offend people. If you remake it, it's like, oh, great. So she's 18 because it's a movie and it's live action. No studio is going to animate this.
Nope.
That's tricky. Could it be made? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to recommend it either. And I was a little kind of bummed because I did remember really enjoying this.
Yeah.
But then upon immediately realizing that I watched an edited version of it and was just like, you don't need to show me this. Like, I don't need to see this. It doesn't look real. There's nothing like you can imply this without showing me because there's just no need.
Yeah. It never, characters in cartoons can be attractive.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I really like the look of Kusanagi's high cut top, like it's a one piece bathing suit with the high cut hip, and then her pants, and you get that little bit of skin. And I've seen real people wear that, and that's really nice. I like that little windows. But it's a cartoon. That's it. It's drawing. I'm not that interested. I like the fashion idea. That's it. We're not going to talk about Chitara though.
So, what did you grade it? I'm sorry, I might have interrupted you. Did you grade it?
Oh, did I? No, I don't think so. I'll give it a because the art style's better. I'll give it a D+.
Okay. Yeah, I enjoy the art style in this too. The kind of like slick, high energy animation I enjoy, like because that was like my sweet spot. Like Ninja Scrolls like that, Ghost in the Shell is like that.
Yeah. Nice bright colors too.
Yeah, fast moving but clear. So I will give it a D+ also. And in terms of it being remade, like I just said, I watched the live action version that came out in 2014, which is now 11 years old. But for 2025, you can remake it in name, and like I said, you can remake anything. But like if you tried to release this version of this now, it wouldn't, because I think most people would just kind of be like me, where it's like there's no need for this.
Right.
Like there's plenty of pornography out there for people. So like there's no need for something like this.
Yeah, and there's tons of revenge, just straight revenge. Doesn't have to be rape revenge. So. Because it's not really, it's revenge of a murder.
Right. So I gather that What?
That was the other thing.
What was?
That pissed me off. She says she waits. I waited a long time for this. Why? Why did you wait that long?
Oh, yeah.
There's no explanation for that, and that really pissed me off. Like, if you're raping me on a regular basis and you hand me a gun,
immediately
I'm going to give the bullets back to you real fast. Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm with you on that. I think that we did what James wanted us to do for these films. If we didn't, let us know, man. But like, I feel like this was what he wanted, and he knew kind of where we were going. And I appreciate that he did that, and not like just was like, oh, like this is my favorite movie. Can you guys talk about my favorite movie? Not that there's anything wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But it was nice to kind of have like a thought process to go into these reviews and why we were looking at them, which is cool. So hopefully we did them justice for you, James. With that said, speaking of doing justice, Joe told me he's doing Poison Ivy 2 this week. That it took him 6.5 hours to finish this movie.
Oh my God.
So let's see what that means.
Oh my God. What is it, Midori?
Hello, Bill. Hello, Chris. And hello, OTC Nation. It's your boy Joe here, and this week Bill took me to what felt like the cheap dime store romance novel section of your city's worst local used bookstore. He made me watch Poison Ivy 2, and it was fucking terrible. Spoiler alert. Okay. That said, it's a great open to the movie. In wrestling, we have a concept called the establishment. It's basically the idea that within a moment of coming through the curtain, but no later than the time that you get to the ring, you should have established for the crowd whether you are a babyface or a heel. We fade up on the camera, panning a room just long enough for the starring credits, before landing on notable character actor Xander Berkeley, grunting and sweating on top of a random girl who was willing to show her tits on film and probably didn't even get her SAG card for it. Because I just looked up the rules, because that's how boring this movie is. And she definitely didn't have 5 or more lines and couldn't have been on set for more than 3 days, because we catch up with these two as they're going into the finish, if you know what I mean. He immediately gets up, and she looks at him longingly like, why no aftercare, shrimp dick? The first line of dialogue is Berkeley saying, this isn't working out, you should go. Like less than 30 seconds after nutting in her. That's crazy. If that's not establishing that you are the heel right away, I don't even know what we're doing here. Like, homie, you have got to wait at least a few hours after exchanging fluids before you can drop that on someone. I'm sorry, them's the rules. I'd also like to take this time to maybe help out that one listener that may be dealing with what Xander Berkeley was back in 1996. If you're going bald from front to back, but only on the top, growing out the sides and the back of your hair is not, I repeat, not the answer. Keep it tight or shave the rest off. Otherwise, I guarantee you are only going to end up looking like Larry Fine from the Three Stooges. You may or may not trust my opinion on movies, but trust me on this one, my dudes. So, that time period between Who's the Boss and Charmed was, boy, that was just a weird time for Alyssa Milano, huh? Like maybe instead of embracing the vampire, you should have embraced a better talent agent.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I just did a quick filmography search because, again, this movie is boring as fuck. And I can find no other jokes to make here. She actually didn't have a terrible career and does a metric fuck ton of charity work. So, moving on. Apparently, before moving to LA for art school, she attended not Alyssa Milano, her character. Before moving to LA for art school, she attended a cosmetology class or 7 because, like, I don't know, at about the halfway mark, she has that moment that we see sometimes where the plain Jane has either a freak out or like an epiphany and does like a drastic self-applied makeover in a montage with like some Riot Girl music, like Bikini Kill is playing and she's like cutting her hair and like cutting a big deep V in her shirt or whatever. And like she gives herself this like layered haircut that would take like a professional among professionals like an hour or 2 to do and looks fucking fabulous. But she's doing it in that whole like, I'm going wild, and does it in the mirror in her bathroom. Like, okay, I guess. At least it's more believable than all these hot young women finding Xander Berkeley irresistible. This is odd because I am, as I said, almost halfway in, and she's not Poison or Ivy. She's a Midwestern girl who's on a journey of self-discovery and finds a journal and stuff by a girl named Ivy, who is, based on the nude photos of herself in the little package that she finds, distinctly not Drew Barrymore.
Interesting.
Like, I smell a script that was only sold to be rewritten so they could attach the familiar title. Yeah, this definitely didn't start out as a Poison Ivy film. Whoever did the sound mixing for this must have curated the soundtrack as well, because whenever a song plays, and it's at least twice the volume of the dialogue, which makes for a very unique auditory experience, to say the least. Like, I'm struggling to hear these main characters talk, and there's like a third-tier Paula Cole knockoff singing her song, like, at twice the volume. And especially when a song plays every 5 goddamn minutes in this direct-to-video film that feels like a made-for-TV film. It's like D-tier bands writing songs that sound like popular bands of the time, like Garbage and Oasis and Smashing Pumpkins and the Wallflowers, etc., at all. If this doesn't say it all, I don't know what does. I've been trying to watch this movie all goddamn day. It took me 5.5 hours to watch this movie. That's not a great sign. I get 20 minutes down and, let's go do the dishes. Another 20 minutes, the new batch of baby chicks that I got probably need some attention. To be fair, they did. 20 minutes, I literally took some old boards and built a platform for the hall closet for a small shoe rack my wife has. I literally did that. I did a woodworking project in the time instead of watching this movie. Like, they present her as this like sheltered kid from the Midwest. And she specifically says she's from Michigan later on. She says she's from fucking Kalamazoo. That's a college town. Western Michigan University is there. Chloe King, who wrote this dime store romance novel turned straight to DVD movie, kids growing up there are not sheltered. There's like a half a dozen rager fucking house parties like every weekend, even when school isn't in session. Let me try to sum this bullshit up. so that I can have as much of a week as possible before I have to watch another Poison Ivy movie. Lily, not Ivy, has a big old awakening. She gets it on with both one of her roommates, who must be a time traveler because he fronted The Wonders back in the mid-'60s.
The Oneaters?
You mean
She
the
goes back and
Oneaters?
forth between him and her professor like she was Aaliyah. The professor is Xander Berkeley. Before settling on moving back to Kalamazoo after a whole bunch of, stuff. Yeah, just stuff. If you've ever been to Los Angeles, that was probably what she should have done 30 seconds after arriving. I'm sorry, Josh. Both Professor I Was John Connor's adoptive dad in Terminator 2 and That Thing You Do follow her back to Kalamazoo because that's a reasonable thing to do, is to spend hundreds on a plane ticket for, a girl who literally was like, fuck both of you, I'm going home. They end up fucking on the roof of a house. They don't end up fucking on the roof of the house. They fucking end up on the roof of a house.
Thanks for the clarification.
There's a big old fight, and the only poisonous person in the film, Terminator 2 guy, takes the big bump off the roof. Credits. Thank a God I don't believe in. Here's the thing, the good. This was a really good reminder of why I like the things that I like, and they aren't this. The bad. It's shot like a B-tier network made-for-TV movie. The soundtrack is terrible, generic alt-rock from bottom-of-the-barrel bands. It moves slower than Mick Foley getting out of bed in the morning. And it's written with all of the depth and maturity of a 7th grader. Poison Ivy 2 gets a D+. The plus is for the little bit of nudity. I'll be back next week when maybe we can get back to something resembling a thriller with Poison Ivy 3, The New Seduction. We'll see about that next week. Until then, fuck. Be good, everyone.
Man, that sounds so bad. Sounds so boring.
I had a friend move to Kalamazoo, and I've tried looking them up online. But when their name is Tom Miller, it's not happening. I'm not finding that person ever again.
Tom Miller.
Yep.
Ridiculous.
Yep. That's why I love and hate my last name at the same time. Because, nobody else really has it.
Yeah.
So it's me.
I definitely went to high school with a kid named John Smith, so.
Yeah. So it's really easy to get lost in a bunch of other people, huh?
Speaking of getting lost.
Oh boy.
I mean, the busting does make you feel good, so.
It does. It's addictive. It's a problem. It can lead to chafing.
Sweet. Chafing.
Yep.
What?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. With Reverend Scott.
Tubes are real. I know that.
Tubes are real. That's right.
Hey there, Bill and Chris.
Who is this?
This is Reverend Scott. So you want to know something cool?
No.
I can type Bill's name in my script in uppercase or lowercase, either one, and spell check won't correct it.
Cool.
See, I told you. And you want to know something else that's cool?
No.
I finally got to see a movie that eluded me during its theatrical run like a ghost in the night. Tickets were available for what felt like maybe 90 minutes total. And the movie's only 84 minutes long. And that movie was Presence. Another little neon release, directed by Steven Soderbergh. You remember him? He's the man responsible for many films, but most familiar to you would be the Magic Mike trilogy.
Love to see it. Love it.
More importantly, this was written by David Cope, K-O-E-P-P, whatever the fuck that is, the man behind the screenplays for Jurassic Park, the original Mission Impossible, the 2002 Spider-Man. The guy's just got nonstop bangers. But is presence one of those aforementioned bangers? Well, things start to get a little confusing right off the bat because if you go and look at Google, it's going to label presence first and foremost as horror. And I would say that this is barely any horror whatsoever. I would classify this film more as a drama with supernatural elements, maybe a thriller as it continues, because this is definitely what Bill would call a slow burn. So if you watch it, you better lock the fuck in and pay attention.
That's fine.
That's fine. I can do that.
This starts out inside a dark, empty, yet clean home. The camera floats throughout the rooms, looking through different windows and moving up and down the stairs in kind of an aimless way. What you learn quickly is that you're seeing everything through the eyes of a ghost or poltergeist, a spirit trapped inside the home. A home that is just about to be purchased by the Paynes family. You got Lucy Liu playing Rebecca, the very work-driven mother. You have Chris Sullivan from the show This Is Us, playing the somewhat reserved and caring father. And his name is, well, it's Chris. So that's convenient. Eddie Mede, something like that. He plays the swimming sensation son, Tyler. That seems to be the sole reason for this move to a new house, only because it's in the right school district so he can succeed at swimming. And finally, there's Kalina Liang, I guess you say it. She's the daughter Chloe. Chloe is a probably junior in high school in this film, and she kind of feels like the outcast in the family. She recently lost two of her friends at school to some sort of drug-related incidents. They're kind of vague about it, but she's understandably upset. But her mom is not completely checked out, but she's clearly more focused on her preferred child, Tyler. In one scene, while drinking a glass of wine, she literally tells Tyler that he's her favorite. Then there's Chris, who argues quite a bit with Rebecca about how they're only doing probably the bare minimum for Chloe as parents, and that's not exactly the best thing to be doing. And most of the time, Rebecca comes across as cold, like,
who fucking cares?
This leaves Chris as the only person that's actually trying to put any effort into consoling his sad and depressed daughter. It becomes clear that the spirit in the house is very interested in Chloe, and Chloe seems to be the only one in the house that is slightly aware that there may be a presence in the home. The spirit even spends a lot of its time watching Chloe from her own closet.
Don't do that shit.
Yeah, I know it can feel a bit creepy to be watching a high school girl from her closet, but at least the actress is like 24, so we can ignore that. It's just regular creepy.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. That makes sense. I'm okay with that.
Besides Chloe's feelings about something or someone being in the house, she actually gets a little bit of confirmation when she walks back into the room to find a lot of her things that were laying on the bed have been picked up and moved and stacked into a different area of the room.
Oh, dude, fuck that.
Chloe seems concerned at first, but quickly shifts to thinking that possibly it's the spirit of her dead friend Nadia? Meanwhile, Tyler couldn't care less about his sister's depression because he has a new school to dominate. And the easiest way to do that would be to try and be buddies with the most popular kid in school, Ryan. I guess Tyler just wants to tangentially become popular.
But he doesn't want to do a fucking thing to earn it.
Popular boy Ryan has some hair right out of the 2000s. Ask me how I know. And he's exactly what you'd expect the most popular kid in school to be like.
But he also comes off as kind of a naive doofus.
Ryan also starts to notice Tyler's sister, Chloe, and even comes over to see her when Tyler isn't home. Uh-oh. After some flirting and a little drinking, Chloe and Ryan get a little bit closer. Ryan comforts Chloe as she kind of has a breakdown. He's one of the few people that actually wants to listen to her. But why does he want to listen to her?
Yeah, but why? What? Okay. Yeah. That. Yeah.
Anyway, right as things start to heat up, the presence knocks down a shelf in the closet, essentially cock-blocking Ryan. Gee golly darn. And this won't be the first time the spirit will intervene when it comes to Chloe. As the film progresses, I would imagine that some people might look at this and think it's just one of those snapshot in the life of a family kind of films. You know, it's got things, in addition to the parts with Chloe and Tyler, there's also Chris being concerned about Rebecca and aspects of her job being in what he puts a legal gray area, to the point to where he's concerned about whether he should even stay with Rebecca, but he's so concerned about Chloe that he feels like it's more important to be together as a family than it is to be concerned about any kind of legal troubles that may or may not happen. And I have to say, Chris is excellent in this movie. Most everyone in this small cast does a great job, but Chris especially just really nailed it for me.
Good job, Chris.
I mean, it's probably because it's the person in the movie that I can most identify with, you know, being a father of a daughter and whatnot. But when Chloe tells him about the spirit, he even has a friend of his friend, a self-proclaimed medium, come over to assess the spirit. You know, he even says he's not religious and he doesn't really buy into all this stuff, but he feels like if it's something that might help Chloe, then, you know, he's going to try and do it. And this woman says that she can sense this spirit too, and the way that they show her in relation to the spirit being, you know, your point of view, you can tell that she actually does look in the area directly at where the spirit would be, so she's not full of shit or anything. And she suggests that the spirit is stuck in the house and it doesn't sense time the same way people do, which they represent in the film as it just kind of randomly going black and coming back to a different scene. So you don't necessarily know how long it is in between these scenes because the ghost doesn't really sense things like that. And she also says that it's stuck in the house until it kind of accomplishes something, like it has unfinished business. So that's probably the only kind of trope involved with this movie and an otherwise pretty original type of film. So maybe this ghost can sense Chloe's trauma. Maybe that's the reason this ghost is coming back at all. And with all this ghost mumbo jumbo, you can only imagine how Tyler and Rebecca took hearing all that.
What the fuck was that? Like, why was that there?
As the story progresses and as you find out more about these characters, you start to see something sinister unfolding, and the tension really starts to ramp up. While there's some slow burn films that really kind of just fizzle out, leaving you disappointed in the end,
All that for that.
luckily Presence is not one of those. It keeps building and building, and what started as an empty, dark house and a wandering spirit has turned into some intense drama with foreshadowing that makes you worried for how things could possibly turn out. And you just have to watch closely.
But it does kind of make it unclear a little bit unless you do pay attention to it like you did, and I obviously did not.
Listen, having seen this at home in silence, when I think about how I could have potentially been watching this in a theater full of teens on their fucking phones, popcorn munching in my ear, and people fucking talking throughout.
I don't know. I don't know if I can.
Seeing this at home is definitely the way to go. Also, remember how much I raved about In a Violent Nature's camera work, you know, following the killer 90% of the film? Well, Presence takes things, I guess, even further. I mean, this is 100% from the POV of the Presence, and I kind of love that about this movie. And if it sounds like...
That would be awesome.
I assure you, it is. While most movies would shy away from the limitations of that kind of structure, like...
I don't want to do that right now.
Nah, that's fair.
That's a lot of work.
Presence embraces it, and it's all the better for it. It's incredibly rewarding to watch this movie, too. I mean, that's part of the slow burn payoff. And luckily, I'm not alone in thinking that, because this made around $10 million on a $2 million budget, most of which probably went into Lucy Liu and Steven Soderbergh's pockets. So I hope they're happy.
You might think you're happy, but you're not.
And I think they used all of that $2 million to their full potential, like being stuck in the house because it's a spirit and seeing from its point of view really lent them to keeping the budget down. There's some things I've watched about, you know, showing how the lighting was all natural. There's maybe quite a bit of extra lamps and things in the house that there wouldn't normally be, but I think it made everything feel a little bit kind of spookier at times and more homely at other times. There's just a lot of cool things that this movie does right. And if you couldn't tell already, I highly recommend Presence, and I give it a straight A. I don't know exactly how often I could ever rewatch this movie, but it stuck with me so well that I don't really need to rewatch it.
Whatever.
Fine, maybe I will. But I'm moving on, because I listened to your reviews last week. First of all, Monkey Man gets an A. I can't exactly put my finger on why, but I knew it from the moment I heard the trailer. I want to watch that movie because I personally identify with the main character. We have similar skills.
Can you fight off an entire room full of bodyguards? Not if you've never done it before.
Mark doesn't seem to think so either.
Well, Bark doesn't know everything. I bet he didn't see Monkey Man or The Green Knight, either one, which The Green Knight I give a B+ to because it saved me from wasting my time watching that movie, which I know was not what you meant to do. You'd rather I spend hours suffering as often as possible.
I did this with the best intentions, and I think it's fucking up now.
Yeah.
And I think that's all I have time for today. So until the next time a ghost cockblocks you, peace and love, guys. Holy Shit with Reverend Scott, the most highly respected podcast segment on the internet.
You're a leper, I'm a king, fuck off.
Doesn't make any sense, but whatever.
Yeah.
All right. Once again, thanks to James for suggesting the movies for this week. I think they made an interesting discussion, regardless of whether we liked them or not, and that's really what's important. So, thank you very much. If you are a Patreon member and you haven't sent us movies, please do. You can reach us through patreon.com/outsidethecinema, and you can also sign up there if you would like. Email us at outsidethecinema@gmail.com. You can DM me on wherever at OTCBill. At Cthulhu for Christopher. And I know we still got at least two more weeks worth, but there's a bunch of people that haven't sent stuff. So feel free to send it, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah.
All right. Later.
Those girls know it's all about for sure. Surrounded by secret boyfriends, petty jealousies.